So you get all the strategic input you want, and it can still be wrong.
And when you end up doing multiple things, you actually end up doing everything terribly. I'll just do it myself, train, if I want it done right.
Even if like everyone doesn't agree that it should be going in that way, they all need to be aware of.
All right. 12 habits that you think are actually helping you, are actually destroying your productivity. What do you reckon, Darrell? What's number one?
Number one is multitasking.
Nah, multitasking's super good, bro. You get to do more work at once in parallel.
This is the reason I didn't answer that properly is because I was multitasking. I just read like a thing off to the side of my screen instead of the script. Multitasking script.
Yeah, right. So realistically, a lot of people think that you can do multiple things at once, but humans they've been studying this many, many times, and it's just not factually correct. There's a few myths floating around, but we're not wired to do parallel processing and really can only focus on one task at a time. And when you end up doing multiple things, you actually end up doing everything terribly and nothing well. So it's one of those things that...
Yeah. And it's like, it's nice to feel busy when you've got like 15 people talking to you about different things. You feel very productive. You're like, do. But realistically, you're not getting whatever matters done, the most important things.
One way that I think you can handle it and solve it is when you find yourself thinking about multiple things, just write them down and then just go through them one at a time. And for me, usually I like to tackle, it depends on what time of day it is. If it's early in the morning, I like to quickly smash through very simple tasks like email. And that's another reason why you just don't have your email open all the time. Have set cadence, like you're like, I'm going to read it in first thing in the morning, probably after lunch or when I'm just about to go to lunch, and then maybe at the end of the day, and that's it, because otherwise it's just going to be distracting and try and multitask. So do that, write them down, and then just work through it systematically. And
number two is not delegating the work. So this is something we fall into, or at least I fall into. I've always been bad at. It's like doing it myself is faster, and it's definitely not, because it takes a bit longer to get other people up to the task. But once you do that and you do the work, it's like long term, it's obviously going to pay off more. So you can't outrun it forever. You can't just do everything forever as the business grows. And this one, I'm sure this will come up more for us once we're like hiring and everything. But right now it's like, it feels like hiring will take longer, and you have to get to a point where it's need to be passed off onto other people.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat, like 100%. I'll just do it myself, train, if I want it done right. But I think where processes come in, I think it definitely depends on where you are in time. There is a time like where you can delegate too early. And I think you, as a founder, you need to understand the role first so that you can actually build a system around it and then delegate it properly. Because if you kind of just want to delegate things that have no process in front, you really need a person who can work without any instruction, which is quite rare and it's hard to find. So being able to just say like, can you just do that and you go figure out and get it right is almost possible. So you need systems to delegate. But yeah, not delegating is definitely something that can, you think you're hacking and getting it all done right. But in the long run, if you have 5 people you can delegate to over time, you're going to move much faster than just one yourself. So definitely.
Like designing stuff at the moment, I've started thinking about like what it's going to look like to delegate the design work out. And I remember when we did it with Real Hub, like handing over stuff to a designer and being like, it's here. It's like every piece of design I've ever done is good enough for the amount of time we have and for one person to look at, but it's an absolute disaster. Like if I was trying to like get someone to do other work in it. So started thinking about that in advance, knowing that at some point those things are going to be other people's jobs.
That's the beauty of having this like relationship where it's like you can hand over a napkin sketch and it can be built to something that we're actually proud of. It's just because we have that working, we understand how it works and it's an evolving thing.
And we've had that pain as well, like adding developers, and then the developers like this, they follow, because I get so used to like them not being followed, and then a developer will come in and be like, I did this thing, and you're like, why did you do that? That's just like not
because you designed it.
Yeah, because you designed it and you put it there. So
it took me 3 weeks to implement it.
Yeah. And that's the risk of delegating things with unclear instructions, is that sometimes work will get done, but like at least it's not you doing the work. So that's like, it's a positive, but it's still wasted resources. But next one is overworking yourself, getting 16-hour days, feeling productive because you're jamming, staying up till 12 at night, whatever it might be. It's killing you long term. So this is just such an important one where time away, and it's the same as fitness or anything, time away from it really does give you the brain space to work better. And it's really hard to tell you're not working to full effect sometimes, where you think you're like really making good choices. I used to see this a lot more when doing physical work, like building and stuff, like in the afternoon, the work would get so sloppy. And then you look at it the next day, it's like very easy in physical work, building something, to see you're like, oh, I didn't even cut that straight. Like, what the hell was I thinking? But you think like, oh, I pulled a 12-hour day. I'm doing great. No, you're actually killing yourself.
So I think there's a balance here on each side, and I think it definitely comes down to the person over time. Like for me, I find like after about the day, my brain starts going to mush. I can still churn out a bit of work, and it can play both ways, because if you don't get it done, it can create stress and anxiety. And if you always just take, I'm recovering, you can actually never push. So you slowly need to find a place where you can find where you're pushing, and you can. If the more longer you push and the more you push, you'll be able to do more. Like your work capacity will increase.
And get very aware of when it is too much or isn't too much, because it's obviously case dependent. Some people's overworking would be some people's underworking, and that's important to remember. You got to find your own cadence that works.
Yes, definitely. Because like people could say like, oh, you work weekends and you're overworking and burn out, but like for me, it's like a really enjoyable time to work because there is no one else working. So no one's bothering.
That's when you're actually meditating.
Like, it's the best day of the week, and people are like, well, you should be recovering. It's like, well, I am recovering because I'm just like jammed. I'm having a great
my
time.
own thing. Yeah.
So it's person dependent, but definitely like I know the limit of overworking, and it does, and burnout, and it sucks. And it usually is your working environment more so than the work itself. So something to watch out for. It definitely kills productivity. Next one is complacency. This one's, just, once the product is live and a few customers are in, it's tempting to coast and just chill. I did the work, but it's good enough. It's good enough. That is the key thing I've heard too many times in my life. It's like, it's good enough. It's never good enough. So this one's good.
It's very easy to look at signals to think like you're doing well. If you're always looking for the positive signals, that is, say like, this is getting customers, it's great. And I think this one especially stood out to me because we could have been complacent and looked at like the numbers that we were pulling in on ClickFlow that we're getting lots of users in. That's really good. Someone could have looked at that and gone like, this is a sure thing, let's just pump more money at it, it'll be great. Or you can look for the negative, which obviously there's like a two-sided thing. You don't always want to be looking at the negative. We were looking for the negative signals, which is like activations weren't as good as we wanted. You're always racing yourself, but you're also racing the competition. So anything you don't do, anytime you're complacent, you're inviting competition to do a better job than you. And there are always people out there doing a better job than you in some regard. And if they turn their attention on you and you've been complacent for too long, customers will feel that, customers will see that. And that's just a huge risk for your business.
Yeah, this is every business. This isn't even just software. This is literally
everything.
This is literally every business. It's like, I've good enough. I get lots of work and I'm not going to improve my process. Old mate down the road starts and launches a completely thing. This is how we overtook our competition when we launched. Just they were complacent. They were the biggest player. They made heaps of money. Like you got Ferrari money. Who cares? So you become complacent. Don't keep pushing the boundaries, and someone else comes that's hungrier than you, chomps you away. Next one is trading time for money. So solving problems manually because it's quicker in the short term, but every hour you spend on this doesn't scale. Support emails, repetitive workflows. Yeah, basically just doing manual work instead of spending some cash to actually fix it.
So your time isn't just the time getting that one job done. It's also like the mental load of everything you're thinking about, and everything you trade time for should be, and like you shouldn't keep spending the money if it's not doing it, but it should be releasing time for your mind to think about the big things. That's what you really want to be doing, because you're not even thinking about like time as like the 1 hour it saves you for that one thing you were doing, but there's like a 5x behind that, which is the 1 hour you were thinking about that. You weren't thinking about the big moves, the strategic moves, the important stuff. So if someone else could do it, you should be delegating it if it's at the right time to delegate. Obviously, like we discussed before, some things shouldn't be delegated. And as a founder also, you have to decide what should and shouldn't be delegated. Some things you should just do, but your job's not to stay busy, it's to stay really valuable. So you want to be doing as many tools, systems, people, and not be afraid of spending money where it takes time out of your day. If things are taking the time out of your day, you need to be finding ways to spend money as the business to make that not your problem. Assuming, of course, that you're applying your time in other areas. You're not just buying time to go to the beach. You're buying time to apply all of your brain power to the areas that matter.
And you should be spending your time fixing those constraints. So these would be constraints in your business. And yes, it takes a little bit of time to fix them, but you fix them once and you fix it and then it's done. And that's why I love software, because you fix a problem once and then it's fixed forever. So very good.
And that unlocks more money to trade more time for more money.
Yes. And then you spend money to buy time, which is very funny. Yeah. So the next one that's killing productivity is poor communication. This is obvious. This is my biggest rant of my entire life. It's just people just not communicating properly. And this is business to business. And then obviously in our instance, it's within the business, employee to your employees, to your founders. If you can't communicate things early and people don't understand it, you're just going to have a bad time. Full stop.
Yeah, I put this one in because this is one of the biggest causes, I think, for like arguments, disagreements, and friction in the business was always when two people had different visions about like what something would be. And like from my lens, from the product space, it was like two competing priorities that like across the business wide, it was always like someone wanted to do something in one direction, someone wanted to do something in another direction. You're trying to steer a train, which is meant to be going on the same tracks in two different directions at once. That's where always the friction's going to come from. And the communication as early as possible will help that. It's not always going to like prevent it, and you shouldn't be trying to entirely prevent any conflict because conflict is good, but the communication gets everyone working on the same page. And like even down to like me passing work to the engineers, like I said before, poor communication leads to doing the wrong work. So they do the wrong work, and that's like, it's like a really bad form of technical debt if you just like making work that isn't that important. Long term, the communication of what you should be building and why needs to be really clear across everyone, and everyone sort of has to be on the same path, even if like everyone doesn't agree that it should be going in that way. They all need to be aware of where it's going so that they can be building the right things, not the wrong things.
And in software, a very good example of like this scenario would be, this is a design, not pixel perfect. Use the current system as the rule book. So if you see a component that doesn't work, find one that's in the system. If you have any questions, ask the question. Don't just go off and just do your thing. That's what we saw. We saw like, these are pixel perfection. This is the rules. And it's like, no, the design's never the rules. The system and the living organism is the rules. So something to communicate in software. Next one is
and all of our teams got really good at that over time as well. Yes. Because obviously it was communicated. They all got really good at that over time. So it was
most of the time I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah, why are you building exactly what was designed? But to be fair to everyone else, most places that you go to would have perfect designs and they would build exactly to them.
Yeah, perfectionism. I would consider myself a perfectionist and a pixel perfectionist, and I want everything to look mint. But you have to learn where and when to apply. Can you apply it quickly, or is this going to take you way too much time? And this I think is a skill that you develop, because there's two parts. So there's an element conflicting. I love to ship fast, so like to get it into the hands of the users. So I cull like ruthlessly, but also want that thing to be as good as possible, and knowing that you can come back, because like what we do, you can always come back. It's not like a building that's built and it's done. We can constantly refine. So like, even in any other business, you can ship some sort of service or package, but the next time you go to a new customer, you can change it and iterate. So don't try and just spend all your time building the highest quality, because we knew that Clipflow V1 was not it. We knew that. But we're like, we need to understand and get other people to validate our ideas and thoughts and actually call out what is wrong. Because what we think is wrong sometimes is also not what the users think are wrong, or what the problems they actually have. Yeah, so that's something, it can kneecap you straight away. If you spend 3 years trying to build the perfect product, launch it, and then guess what? No one cares, because you've completely missed the mark. Ship early.
Or even haven't missed the mark, but just wasted heaps of time on things that don't matter, which is like, you're always resource limited, you're always time limited, and that has to be part of your perfectionism. It's like, I know that this could be different, ship it, change it later if necessary, which is a hard balance between the two. If you want things to be really good, but then you also know that like it's not possible, so you just like do what you can. But I would also say perfectionism is a good trait to have, as long as you can like keep it on a leash.
Yeah, keep it on the leash. Make sure it doesn't get out of the way. Funnily enough, you go aim for perfectionism in V2 of Clipflow, and then you go and just literally chuck it all in the bin, because you did a V3, which looks completely different. So all those little things you worried about. So it is something to keep an eye on. All right. Next one, not prioritizing learning, or just not learning. This is so common. This is, again, one of these traits. So yeah, a lot of people pour so much time and effort into what they're working on now, and the kind of rules. Like, this happens in corporate jobs, like more enterprise roles. You're like, I'm learning. And it's like, nah, you're not actually. You're learning the systems of this enterprise, but you're not actually learning what's happening outside of that enterprise, which is a lot. And I used to kind of counteract this by building an enterprise piece of software, which has very different limitations and expectations. And then I would build side projects where I could use the latest technology to see if there's a better way of doing things. And I think that's the only way you can actually keep growing, because when next time you want to build something, you know the hacks, and you could even bring things in. So I did that a lot, brought things from the outside in, because I was like, hey, because if we just spend the same time looking at the same code base, we're going to get stale real fast.
You'll stale. And I think of it like sort of peripheral vision, always keeping a peripheral vision. There's almost everything you could be looking at and learning, obviously not doom scrolling, but everything else that you're looking at, if you're reading a book, listening to a podcast, or like for me at the moment, it's keeping a peripheral vision on what other creator tools are doing, not because they're even like in the same area as us, but it's just good to have an idea of what the market is doing. What's the creator economy doing? Is it growing? Is it booming? Is it shrinking? Is like all of these things, all of these news, podcasts, etc., will all feed into your worldview, which is part of the vision of the product. So it's like, if you're going to run in one direction, keep an eye on your sides, because there's going to be information out there.
Definitely. Another little habit which people fall into, or probably behavior, is the fear of change. Being in technology, this is probably not a very good trait to have, because everything changes so fast, and I think that's why people fatigue out so quick. You've heard the term JS fatigue, JavaScript fatigue, because the industry is just constantly changing. We've now got AI where you get a new model every week doing, the next best thing, and it's like trying to keep up to date. And if you're not willing to change, you're stuffed. And I think that's for every business now anyway. If you're not adopting, so you're not learning and you're not changing, you're dying, basically. You're on the way out.
And this just gets like worse and harder the bigger the business it gets to make the changes. Obviously, like the more time you've bought into something, the harder it is to throw it away. The more time, or like the bigger the software is, or the larger the customer base it is, the harder it is to pivot and change direction. If you've got people that are disappointed and made a promise to the product, you sort of have to do it. Even sometimes it will hurt people, employees, customers, whatever. You have to do those things if they're better for the long-term vision of the entire ecosystem.
And there's one thing that I do want to add, and Hormozy talked about this, funnily enough, was changing things just for the sake of changing. There's a cost of change. So this is in business. There is a cost of change. And this is a little bit different to the fear of change, right? So fear of change and cost of change are different, but like you just got to keep them they're in a similar vein. But there is a cost. Like I think you're going to lose 20% of productivity by changing something. So if you change an entire process of, like, let's say your sales process, you're going to lose 20% while you train everyone up on this new process. You need to be sure that when you make a change, that you are going to get a bigger uplift than 20. Because if you only get a 20% uplift, you're basically standing at zero because of that time. You really need to be, when we implement this thing and you're confident that that thing is going to actually bring a substantial change or benefit. Otherwise, don't leave it. Just by leaving the broken process, because the whole thing is like, sometimes you just leave the fires. You let the fires burn. You can never solve every problem in your business. You've got to solve the biggest ones. And you focus on that one problem until it's done. So yeah, there's like a little bit of a flip side to it, but the fear of change, I think, is more on an individual level. It's about being able to adapt yourself, and it's not taking everyone else with you. It's just like, I personally can adapt. There's a new tool that I can use that makes me faster. I'm going to learn how to use that. There's a new language, there's a new something. I can change that, and that's fine. But yeah, business changing of processes, you need to...
So the cost of change, from the other side, and as anyone who is building software, you're expecting the customer to absorb the cost of change to move to your product. So it is something to consider, not just for yourself when you're making changes in your business, but if you're going to ask someone to change what they're doing with their team, just understand that it's not just like the pricing. It's $50 a month. It's also the cost of them changing and potential cost of affecting their customers that they spent so much time trying to get on board. But all of those things have to come into it.
Sick. Number 10, analysis paralysis. Whoa, this one's so easy to fall into.
Yeah.
It's so easy.
It's also one I'd say we like really aggressively target more than anything, not to get stuck just making decisions.
If you just have to build your values, which is for me and for you, it's always been ship fast. Analysis paralysis goes against that. So it's like, our value is to ship fast. We will analyze this for a couple of back and forths, and then we'll just lock something in. We're going to be like, it's probably wrong, but that's fine, right? It's just like, keep moving. And if you have that mentality and that's the core value, you can escape this one, even though it does sometimes drag you in. Like, what about this? What about this? What about this? What about this? And it's like, if you just do that all the time, you're just not going to go. You're not going to move.
Yeah, because it makes you feel intelligent to think of everything. Like then you don't get anything done. You actually don't get any real information. Like
the ego feels good.
If you
though.
think about analysts and prediction models and stuff, where before interest rates change, every person and their dog says the interest rates are going to do X, Y, and Z because I analyzed it, and somehow, even though it's like a 50-50 of it going up or down, 90% of them get it wrong. Analysis doesn't actually tell you real world what's going to happen because there's so many variables to like everything. So you get all the strategic input you want and it can still be wrong. And you could have millions of dollars spent, like big companies, the Facebooks, etc., do all of the research, they still get it wrong. So if you can bias towards action, you're going to get more information from that action than not. And most of the decisions that you make, if you do make a bad one, can be reversed. So the only real risk is not doing anything, staying in one place.
This one's tough because this stings from our last business is reactive working and distractions. So basically you are constantly pinged, email notifications, putting up fires. This is what we're talking about here. Just prior was constantly the next fire becomes the priority over everything. And you drop everything to do it. It's just a disaster, to be honest, because you never can focus on the one thing. I used to get really, this was actually something that causes burnout for me personally, is constant, like, this customer's going to leave. Oh, this customer's going to leave. This customer's going to leave. And you're like, they're not going to actually leave. They never really, it was very rare for that to actually happen, but it created so much stress. Then you spend all weekend working on a fix, to ship it. And then it was kind of like, the
customer's going to leave for a different reason now.
Yeah. We didn't really. And then you find out, are they using that thing? Oh, no, they're not using that thing yet. It's like, but I thought it was
actually care.
And you end up just jumping around and being super unfocused. So now, avoid it, please. It's just for your own sanity. Just focus on
it. It got really bad for me when there was a lot more meetings introduced because we were obviously getting interrupted by a conversation is one thing, but the worst part for me personally was when people started putting time in the calendar. Just without even any asking the question, you would just have things pop into your calendar and you'd say like, in 1 hour, I've got a meeting that I didn't agree to. No one asked me, can I do it? They just put the time in the calendar and then you're in that thing. And then you've lost the meeting time, the time before, the time after, doing it at any time of day that suits whoever the person is. And it's not that they're doing anything wrong. They're trying to get information for whatever their job is. But when you've got like 2 blocks of actual getting work done in a day and anyone could just jump in and take it, that's when it gets really bad. So the only recommendation there is block out your time. If you are in one of those situations where you work in a business and people just allocate time willy-nilly, pop out the time so that
Final one, lying to yourself. Look, nah, mate. I've never lied to myself in my life. Everyone loves me. I mean, it's easy to lie. We're growing. The product is fine. If it churns through the roof, it's the you, it's not me. They're just dumb. That's a good one. But yeah, honestly, you need to just face the truth sometimes and I think that's one thing that we've always tried to do is just like, if someone's saying that, it's probably a reason. Like, they maybe then don't understand things, but that means that it needs to be simpler. Like how can we
or the support needs to be better or whatever. And it's like at some point also those things come to like you've got to make a decision of if it's worth listening to or addressing or not. But you just have to not be blinded by the ego and the lying to yourself. Like it's good enough. And then if something comes up to conflict that, then addressing it not from the lens of protecting yourself and what you believe, but address it from the other side. Play devil's advocate with yourself. Even if you decide to side with yourself, as long as you've done that, where you've like played the opposite side effectively, you'll be in a better place.
I think it's really important here to have co-founders with different opinions. And slightly different values. Like the main value and core values are the same, but different values in like what they find important. Because I think this is where you can find a balance quite quickly. And you go, hey, fact check yourself. Like, do you reckon it's wrong? Or because like as an engineer, when someone who builds something, like you put a lot of energy and effort into it. So when someone says to it, it's clunky, it's slow, you have to fact check and be like, is this true? Like if it is, we need to fix it. And then I love the note here is stop hiding behind hope. This is not a self-help. Don't hide behind your hope. You need to be super like as a founder, you need to be super like believe that you're going to achieve something, but don't be naive. Believe, but don't be naive. There we go. That's the one. So
similar to what I was saying up the top about like not avoiding conflict, I agree that it's one of the most important things for whoever's at the table to have a conflicting opinion and have the confidence to do it, which was another like failing of like I've got really big is like people would just agree with you. You're like, no, I actually want you to tell me why I'm being stupid, but obviously there's a dynamic dynamic of hierarchy there where it doesn't happen. So it's better to have like all founders able to disagree with each other. But if there's one of you, if you don't have any partners and you have employees or staff or team members, whatever you want to call them, making them disagree with you, playing the devil's advocate, is going to be a really powerful tool for you. Have you ever seen World War Z with Brad Pitt?
Yes.
And they have the Israelis built the big wall to save themselves from the zombies because they always had one person who would investigate the likelihood that something would happen, even if everyone disagreed that it would happen. That's saved them. Well, it didn't save them because the zombies got in there anyway, but spoiler alert. Still, they were better prepared than anyone else.
It's in the trailer, though, so I think, whatever. That was a hectic scene. Anyway, on that note, those are 12 habits that are ruining productivity and actually allowing you to move forward. So have a look at them, identify them, and see which ones you are.
Yeah, you can. There's small moves you can make to sort of stop doing any of those at any one time. Also, keep in mind that if anyone said that they don't do any of these things, they're lying. We're all working on it. Like everyone who's projecting that they're absolutely killing it, they're all working on these same things. So
100%.
Don't beat yourself up too much if you feel like one of those is like, oh, I'm doing that. Don't worry about it.
I'm guilty of all of them.
12 out of 12, high score. Yeah.
And you might not be, it might not be black and white. You might be like, I'm 10% in there. So cool. Yeah. Until next time, catch you later.
Peace out.